I really love how the Terminator franchise are extremely willing to wipe certain movies out of the timeline, despite how recent the last film was. Now, despite the failure of Terminator Genisys, the Terminator franchise isn't going away anytime soon, with Terminator 6 having the release date of July of 2019, with James Cameron coming back to become the producer for this next film. But things get even better, as Tim Miller, who directed the first Deadpool movie, will be directing this new Terminator film as well. And given his amazing work on Deadpool, I have high hopes that he will do just as well in this next film. Plus, Arnold Schwarzenegger will be coming back as the Terminator once again, and it's always a pleasure to have Arnold Schwarzenegger coming around as the Terminator, despite how old he is. And the most surprising of all things is that Linda Hamilton will be coming back as Sarah Connor in Terminator 6, which is going to be the first time she reprised her role ever since Terminator 2. And so far everything is looking so good for this upcoming film, and that the series will finally be headed forward in a positive light. Now, what's interesting about Terminator 6 is the fact that this is going to be dubbed as the true sequel to Terminator 2 Judgment Day, and is said by both Arnold Schwarzenegger and James Cameron that Terminator 3, Salvation and Genisys are all completely ignored in this new timeline, and this is what he has to say. This is a continuation of the story from Terminator 1 and 2, and we are pretending that the other films were all bad dreams, or an alternate timeline which is permissible in our multiverse. Now, with this new revelation, I could imagine that this is literally what everyone wanted, seeing as how everyone has been so divided when it comes down to the previous films ever since T2. Now, as much as I'd admit that Terminator 3 was completely silly and wasn't as good as the other two Terminator films beforehand, honestly I don't think that Terminator 3 is as bad as everyone makes it out to be. But given the fact that this is meant to be the continuation of Terminator 2, I can understand people's frustration. And honestly, I don't think it's that bad. Terminator Salvation, on the other hand, did have some really interesting concepts, and I really enjoyed the gritty take on the franchise. However, it just kind of fell flat on many areas, and it just came across as disappointing in the end, which is really unfortunate because Salvation did have a lot of potential. And the less we talk about Terminator Genisys, the better. And despite how all these mentioned movies are more or less retconned out of the main timeline, I like how all these films are still technically connected in this overall multiverse, and that Terminator 3, Salvation and Genisys are all part of alternate timelines. And given that the Terminator series is all about time travel, this makes all the sense in the world. And despite how the last 3 Terminator movies have been heavily criticised, many people are still fans of all these films. So to me, this is a great idea for everyone to have their cake and eat it too, with the main timeline excluding all of the last 3 Terminator movies, but all the retconned films are still in the overall multiverse as part of alternate timelines. And to me, this is just genius. So are you glad that Terminator 3, Salvation and Genisys are all completely retconned out of the main timeline? And how do you feel about the last 3 Terminator films being considered as alternate timelines? Comment below and share some thoughts. And as always, thank you guys for watching this video. Please like and subscribe. Take care and have a good one.